Well, greetings, everyone. As promised, I did want to go over that question that I posed this week, earlier in the week. And it is here. Okay, so we have Jack is looking at Anne, but Anne is looking at George. Jack is married, but George is not. So the question is a married person looking at an unmarried person? So yes, no, or it cannot be determined. So about 80% of people who try to answer this question choose C, and I so hope you all chose C. And I'm totally kidding, because you would be wrong. It is not C. It is actually, well, C is not the correct answer, but let's explore what is the correct answer. But before we do, I just want to say that this question gets at or utilizes what Keith Stanovich refers to as disjunctive reasoning, which is the consideration of all possibilities. So let's look at this again and consider all of those possibilities. But before we do, I kind of forgot what was on my slide next. IQ tests do not assess disjunctive reasoning. And I should also say that 80% who choose C, that is not correlated with IQ at all. So it doesn't really matter what your IQ is, whether you get this right or wrong. So, so let's look at all the possibilities. And I think it's best to do this if we look at it visually. So again, we've got Jack. He's looking at Anne. Anne is looking at George. And so what do we know? We know that Jack is married, and we know that George is not. Anne, however, we don't know. So let's look at this again. So since we don't know what Anne is, the other two are kind of locked in place, so to speak. Let's consider that she's not married. And then let's revisit the question. Is a married person looking at an unmarried person? And the answer here, as you can see visually, is yes. So the other possibility is that she is married. And again, answering the question, is a married person looking at an unmarried person? The answer is again, yes. So the correct answer was actually A. So there's a couple things that I think I want to point out about IQ tests in general, and you probably got this from the reading this week, but I think it's really important to remember that IQ tests are norm referenced. So an IQ doesn't actually tell you how smart anybody is. It just tells you how smart they are to not even really the general population, but those individuals who are members of a particular group, the norm referenced group. So that's really important to remember. And as such, I've got here that they're a poor measure of development. They're really not a measure of development at all. Because as an individual ages, as they develop, the group that they're being referenced to also develops. So that's really important to consider. So even though development is occurring, IQ may not necessarily change all that much in response to development, unless you are developing at an accelerated or decelerated rate compared to the norm referenced group. So that's just a couple of points I wanted to make about IQ tests this week. I really have enjoyed the discussions. They were quite interesting, lively, as I expected them to be. So anyway, have a good week, and I'll see you in the discussion boards this week.